Well, howdy, everybody, and welcome to episode 6 of the Pixar Post Podcast. I'm TJ.
And I'm Julie.
And we're going to kick right into it. This week, we're going to talk about some software app updates for the Walt app as well as Monsters Incorporated Run. We're going to talk about Monsters University news with a new character poster and clearing up. We're good. We're happy about this. We're going to be clearing up some of the comments that have been out there as far as when Mike says, "You've been jealous of my looks since the 4th grade." We have a definitive answer.
Yes.
We're going to be talking about the Blue Umbrella and our reader review that we had from that, as well as an interview that was conducted with director Sascha Unseld. We're going to be talking about a ton of Brave news. We certainly won't list it all here, but of course you can guess what it's about. They won the Oscar for Best Animated Feature. And we're going to kick off with talking about the announcing of the winner of our Evil Dr. Porkchop T-Shirt contest that we had for the last week and a half.
Yes.
And we announced it first to our podcast listeners, and we are excited to announce that Caitlin B. of Kentucky is the big winner.
Hooray!
Yeah. So
congratulations, Caitlin.
Yep, and she's already been in contact with us and given us her address. So we are happy to announce that we have sent that off to her today, along with a little extra something in there related to Partysaurus Rex. So it's just a fun little thing to include as well.
Yes, so we hope you enjoy it.
Absolutely. Congratulations again, Caitlin. So we know the big Brave news that happened this week is, of course, they took home the Academy Award, a.k.a. Oscar, for Best Animated Feature.
And the Oscar goes to Brave, Mark Andrews and Brenda Chapman.
This is the first Academy Award for Mark Andrews and Brenda Chapman. Mark was previously nominated for the animated short film One Man Band.
I just happen to be wearing the kilt. I didn't plan any of this. I'd like to thank the Academy for this incredible honor. Making a movie has its own story. I'd like to thank John Lasseter, Ed Catmull, Jim Morris, Andrew Stanton, Pete Docter, Brenda Chapman, Catherine Zarafian for making of Brave an exceptional story. My wife and my 4 kids, Maeve, Jack, Peyton, and Ford.
I'd like to give a shout out to my wonderful, strong, beautiful daughter, Emma, who inspired Brave into being. So thank you to her and my husband and our incredible cast and crew. Thank you.
Well, that's a short and sweet little thank you that they gave there, isn't it? Yeah, so...
I'm so happy Brave won.
I know. What a huge deal, isn't it?
It was a huge night. I was just thrilled.
It puts a capper to the entire award season that they've been having.
Yes, they've been racking up the awards.
Yeah, and I think, is there anything else that's left award-wise?
No, I believe this is it.
Yeah,
I believe there's a trailer award back in May, I believe. The golden trailers. Okay. So yeah, we'll see. But obviously we were worried, and we discussed that there could be a little bit of competition there, certainly, where everybody thought, well, not everybody, but certainly a lot of people thought that it was going to be Wreck-It Ralph. Yeah, Brave and Wreck-It Ralph really battled it out. I mean, the other contenders were, amazing animation too, but I believe... Yeah,
they were both the front runners for sure that people were looking at. So it's interesting to see that Brave won. And of course, the comments from both sides have come out, saying that, well, we thought this one should have won, we thought this one should have won, so it's good to see that it was, people were that passionate about the animated movies
this year
that they, got that involved with it.
Right.
Yeah. So one thing I didn't know is immediately after they get off stage, what happens?
There is another thank you cam that is backstage, because if anybody watched the Oscars this year, the dreaded Jaws theme shooed them off the stage. You only get about 20 seconds, it seems like, to give all of your thank yous to everyone. So backstage, here are the thank yous from Brenda and Mark.
I'm so excited. I would love to say hello out there to Lincoln, Illinois, Beeson, Illinois, and Carmine, Illinois, because they're all watching. That's my hometown. But I want to say thank you especially to the creative leaders on Brave, Steve Purcell, Nick Smith, Steve Pilcher, Bill Wise, and Irene Mecki, my writing partner. I'm just thrilled. You've done an amazing job, and I thank you all so much.
Wow, for a kid who just drew in the back of class his entire school career to be honored with this nomination is to get it is fantastic. But I didn't get it there by myself. The entire crew of Brave was amazing and outstanding artists and individuals, and I enjoyed working with every one of them. Brian Larson, our head of story, Danielle Feinberg, who lit everything, Rob Anderson, Nick Smith, our editor, I mean, all of our soups and leads, and Catherine Zarafian, our Mary Alice Drum. There are just so many people that go into making an animated film, and they got this, and they deserve this. Thank you.
Brian Larson, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, so there's their additional thank yous that they weren't able to do on stage. And I'm sure some of it, whether you get the Jaws theme to kick you off stage or not, I'm sure some of it, even if you write a speech, you're just going to get so overwhelmed.
Oh, you're going to
forget. There's no way you're going to remember everybody.
I know.
It's crazy.
Yeah. It was nice to see, because we have such respect for Danielle Feinberg.
Yeah. So
to see her get a shout out because her lighting is amazing.
Yeah. I mean, for anybody that has seen, I'm a photographer, so seeing any lighting,
especially in an animation format. I mean,
right. Lighting is the key to pulling all the fine details together. I mean, obviously, every function from story all the way through the whole thing
everyone
is
all those
equally
hundreds
important.
Of people that touched Brave.
We certainly don't want to make it discount anybody else's work, but just seeing the difference between what a rich lighting on a scene can do, and knowing that from photography as well, it really does make put those finishing touches that give it that extra oomph.
Yes.
That make it a Pixar film.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then, of course, I love Mark Andrews.
Yeah.
I just love his enthusiasm and how he talks. I just love it.
Yep. So then immediately after the thank yous,
they are whisked down the Winners Hallway, and into another press Q&A.
A wonderful movie. I loved it, and my daughter did as well.
Thank you.
Who are you most excited about seeing tonight? Oh.
George Clooney.
George Clooney. No, not really. No, George is cool. Anybody. I mean, I know Russell Crowe's in the house, and he's a very intimidating fellow, so I'd like to, stand up face to face with Russell Crowe.
Emmeline with 194.
Hi, Mark and Brenda. Congratulations. Linda with the Red Carpet Report. Could you talk about your creative process and how long it took to create Brave?
Oh, good one.
Well, the film took actually 8 years from beginning to end. And I can talk about the beginning of it. Mark can talk about the end of it. But it took a lot. I was a year in a room all by myself, writing and coming up with, the basic story plot, but then you start bringing on the people who start looking at the look of the picture and help with the story, and you keep working and reworking the story, but you start bringing on people who start being able to build it, and then Mark.
So once everything's kind of built, you put it all together and you start shooting it, and you've got your voice talent and then your other actors, your animators, putting together these performances, and then it's this huge organic process, and it's a fragile, delicate process along every step of the way, and there's a lot of plates to spin. And by the end, if you just, you stick with it and you're passionate about it, hopefully by the end you have something that's really special. In Brave's case, I think we managed to pull that off. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Congratulations.
Yeah, it's funny when he says they managed to pull that off, because clearly they managed to pull it off, or else they wouldn't have won the Oscar.
Or any of the other awards.
Yeah, the other treasure trove of awards that they've won there.
Yes.
So, kind of going backwards from there, leading up to the Oscars, we're going to talk about some of the events that were happening prior to that. So there was an Oscar celebration event that happened on February 21st at the Samuel Goldwyn Theater in Beverly Hills, California. And Mark Andrews had a Q&A session there with Rob Riggle, who was going through some of the Well, they were talking to all the directors that were nominated in the animation category.
In the Best Animated Feature Film category, yep.
Right, so we're going to play you again. And in the Q&A session that we just played from backstage, we didn't play the full interview from that. And we're not going to play the full interview, although this clip's going to be a little bit longer because this one we feel has a lot of really good information in it. And if you want to watch the whole Q&A session with all of the animators as well as additional comments with Mark, just head to our website, click on the podcast button, and you can see it under episode 6. There'll be a link to it. And then following this clip, stay tuned as well, because we're also going to have a reader review that was actually present at the event to get her comments in here as well.
Well, that brings up a good point too. I mean, it was set in Scotland, and you used several Scottish actors, for the voice cast, as well as a Scottish composer to write the score. I'm assuming this was an important part, getting the characters and getting the music right and to give that authentic feel. Is that something you were conscious about?
Yeah, I mean, we go to see movies so that we can be, young Scottish lasses in the Highlands, fighting against magic and the social views of the time. We go see movies so that we can be a nurse in World War I, treating amputees and falling in love. I do. We go to see movies so we can be warlords in space operatic adventures, or the Marine charging up the hill. We go to escape. We go to be entertained. So we have to create worlds that are authentic, that have something that we don't have in our normal everyday lives. So to get that authentism, to find that character of Scotland, not only do we have to go there and really be in it and bring back all those kind of details, but cast it with Scottish folks. It wasn't necessarily a requirement. It just kind of turned out that way, Brenda loved our composer, Patrick Doyle, since he made his debut with Henry V. I did too. He just happens to be Scottish, which was great. And when I sat down with him to do the music, I say, I didn't want wall-to-wall bagpipes. If I hear a bagpipe, I'm going to hit you in the face. And he's all right, I see what you're talking about. All right, let's do it. And we have some bagpipes in the score, so he's fine. We worked it out. But what I didn't want is I didn't want that caricature of Scotland that is just bagpipes. I wanted an ancient Scotland. I wanted an old feel. So he really got into that, and he knew those melodies kind of from those times and going deep into the Celtic roots. And he dug up old instruments and stuff and lyres and things like that they used back then, and flutes and whistles and stuff. And that's was the root of the music.
Wow. That's really awesome to hear.
Deep, yeah.
Yeah, no, I love that. So let me ask you, are you a parent?
I am.
Okay. And you talked about, there was an influence on Brenda from her daughter. Mm-hmm. As a parent, do you have experiences that influenced the writing and directing of this movie or any other?
Yeah. There's lots. I mean, being a parent, and I have a daughter and 3 sons, just as it turns out, does Fergus in the movie. That wasn't planned. But being the dad, and I'm kind of, at my house, I'm a lot like Fergus, and my wife is kind of like the queen. She actually runs the house and tells me what to do, and I just laugh and make jokes at parties and all that kind of stuff, and get angry every once in a while. And the kids love me. Yeah, that's all dads. Yeah. But I mean, as a parent, the thing that I was noticing with my wife and my daughter's relationship were the very things that were going on in this story that I could see and I could pull from. I mean, they're always telling each other, just listen to me, just listen. If you just see my side of it. So that's in there. And it's very relatable. But the other thing watching, being a parent of a parent and child relationship, it's them growing up, that they're not you're a kid anymore. They're turning into an adult. And we're becoming their equals. And one thing that I do with my kids is I play with them all the time. I'll just come home from work and I'll lie down on the floor and I'm all, wrestle time, which just means dog pile on daddy time. But when we're playing like that, or we're playing with Legos or action figures, it's no longer a parent-child relationship.
it's a person-in-person relationship, and they get to know me as me, and I get to know them as them, and that's really special. And that's something that I put directly into the movie, to break down that kind of hierarchy barrier. It's play. Play is the great equalizer. We're no longer boss and whatnot. You just come down and it's just playing, and you see the truth in the person. So that whole moment when they're in the river, if anybody has seen the movie, if you haven't, please rush out and see it. And remember to vote. That was all based on play, and all the play moments with the triplets and everything, all that stuff with Fergus playing with Merritt at the beginning and teaching her how to shoot, all that stuff was kind of from my experiences. And I remember there's a one line, my daughter, who's my oldest, was having problems with her brothers, and to me, when I came on the scene, they hadn't done anything. And my boy's got a Maeve, reprimand. She's all, but it was them. I'm all, go to your room. She's all, my brothers get away with murder and I can't get away with anything. And I'm all, oh, that's going in the movie. So I took that right into work that day and dropped it right in the script, and it's there. Yeah.
My sister used to slap her arm and scream, Rob, ow! And then my dad would come after me.
I tricked my brothers.
My sister's like, it's diabolical. And she'd be like, bye-bye.
I'm the oldest, and I got two brothers, and I would get them so riled up so that they were cursing just as my mom was walking by. And they're all, F you, Mark, I f***ing hate you. All of a sudden, they're off getting their mouths washed out with soap. I've never had that experience.
Well played, sir.
Yes, sir.
Well played. All right, let me ask. We're good on time. I just want to ask a couple more. Brave. Would it have been as effective as a live action film had it been made that way?
Oh, that's an interesting question. I don't know. Maybe. I think when we're watching an animated film, there is more of an acceptance of it, because it's not something that we've seen every day, that it's caricaturized, it's specialized. When we look at these characters, we go, oh yeah, she's in trouble with all that hair and the way she's walking. She's trouble. Oh, that guy's big. To get those same reactions instantaneously out of live action film, you have to do a lot of work. We're automatically sizing up. Well, I do. Tom Cruise or Brad Pitt comes on. I'm all, yeah, I could be that. That's not really getting into the film, but when the three Lord's sons show up, you're all doofer, and even more stupid. Right. And you're there, you're there with Merida. So I think there's a much more, and it's been going on for centuries. I mean, the cavemen painting in the caves, illustration has been such a direct connection to our emotions and as symbols, that it's come up, and it's very complicated now, but I mean, through painters, all the way up to now, and animation as this film medium. I think there's just a quicker emotional core to an illustration. We're more forgiving of it, I think, what we're trying to say, than live action. In live action, you have to do a lot more work.
Oh, okay. That's great. Last question.
So no.
Last question. How important was it to try and keep a balance of humor with the conflict in the mother-daughter relationship?
Huge. That was one of the central problems that we were having in crafting the story, was making Merida not just a bratty teen, and making Eleanor not a mommy dearest meanie. We would either have Merida's being a and we love mom. Well, we can't have that. Okay, let's go the other way. Oh, now mom's being a and Merida's really sweet. Well, that doesn't. So yeah, having that balance so we understand where they're coming from was kind of pivotal for understanding their relationship, that they're both well-intentioned, So there's that whole idea of the scene that came up that were separate scenes at first, where they're talking to each other without talking to each other. And we do it through the editorial, process, the cutting, where they're saying what they really want to say to each other, just listen. But they're not in the same room together. Those were actual scenes that they had that were separate. That separate didn't work. But as soon as you cut them together, you go, I get it. And then the cherry on top of that to really make it work was have the scene right after that when they are alone together and they can say what they want to say, and they didn't, and they let it go, and that's real. And I remember we were in a story session.
That was great storytelling.
Thank you. We were in a story session, and this was one of the problem, and we're all yelling at each other in a. If you've never been in a story room, it's fabulous. It's trial by fire. It's forging. It's Conan. It's forging steel. I love it. But we're all yelling at each other and throwing things. It's great. And one of my storyboard artists goes, "It doesn't work. It just doesn't. This whole concept doesn't work. If they just talk to each other, then the movie's over." And I go, "You're right." And it shut the room up. And I'm all, "What if we do just that?" And they're all, "What?" And then that idea came up. I'm all, "Let's have them talk to each other, but not." And they're all. And they all saw it instantaneously. Yeah. And you know something's a gem or something's really working when 11 people are in the room going. And I pitch it and they're all, yeah. I'm all, "Okay, now go draw it. Let's go."
I thought it was a fabulous way to tell that story. I thought it was wonderful. Mark Andrews, everybody. Brave.
Yeah, and as again, you can see there, once again, that Mark is completely engaging, and he has a lot of great stories there. And we have quite a few comments that we could throw in there, but let's actually hear from Lisette, one of our readers who is at that event, and we're just going to read the final 2 paragraphs from her review. Again, if you want to hear if you want to read her entire review, just head to our website. It'll be linked through from the podcast, episode 6. So she says in the final 2 paragraphs, "As Mark Andrews spoke, it was understood that Brave is more than simply a movie about a rebellious teenage girl. It's about family trials, growing up together, and never forgetting about the true essence of what makes you a family. It's the bonds and memories you've created over the years, and the common love you share for one another, because when it comes down to it, that's all the common ground you need, along with an open ear and heart. It was truly enjoyable watching Mark Andrews be interviewed. It was amusing to see his similarities to Fergus, and it's easy to see how Fergus came to be the way he is in the movie. Hearing Mark speak about the inspiration behind Brave added more perspective to the already enjoyable and heartfelt movie. He added more depth to it, and the sincerity of the story and feelings it held became more clear. Every experience leads to a story, and his own led to an Oscar nominee, for Best Animated Feature.
Which now has led to an Oscar win.
Yes. Of course, Lisette didn't know that at the time. But yeah, it's the thing that Mark obviously really drove home there is that you need to pay attention to everything around you if you want to be a storyteller.
Yeah.
Because
simple things as him coming home and playing with his kids.
Right.
Or even a simple thing that his daughter said because she's mad at her brothers. The next day.
Or her mom.
Yeah, the next day it wound up in the film.
Right. Pretty crazy stuff.
Yeah.
So, and then again, after this event, or actually prior to this event, switching gears a little bit, there was also an Oscar nominee story with Mark Andrews, and that was a recorded...
it's a recorded video that the Oscar production put out. It's basically, they had each nominee give a little backstory to themselves.
Growing up, I'd go to movies all the time. That's one of the things my parents kind of love to do. They love to go see movies. And I remember my dad would take us, when I was in the 4th grade, he would drop us off at the Mann's Chinese Theater to watch Star Wars. The very first show's at 10 o'clock. He'd pick us up after the 8 o'clock show, which ended at 10 o'clock. And it was kind of our babysitter all day. So that's what my dad did, which I do not mind at all, Dad. That was fine for us. I never thought that I would get into movies. I've drawn since I was little. Since I was 3, I've always drawn. And I never thought in my wildest imagination that I would actually get a career where I'm actually drawing for a living. And I found after high school that there was these courses at city colleges that were just drawing courses. And I said, wait a minute. I could go to college, which would please my parents, learn how to make movies, and then get a job drawing for a living? Done. Sorry, Marine recruiter. I'm not going to join the Marines. I'm going to art school, much to his chagrin. After I graduated from Cal Arts, I starved for about a year until I found a gig working at Hanna-Barbera on a television show, The New Adventures of Johnny Quest. I went right down with my portfolio and showed them, and they hired me that same day, and that kind of started me off in the career of animation and film. And one thing led to another, and then I got contacted to work with Sam Raimi on Spider-Man, and that got me into live action. And I worked on the first Spider-Man movie. And, in this industry, you work hard, you do good work, your reputation goes out in front of you. I think the biggest advice that I could give an upcoming filmmaker is make your own films. That in it of itself is a learning process. So make your own films and make them often. Just to experiment and play around and to explore, because that's when you really start developing your sensibilities, especially when it goes bad. When it goes good, no worries. You don't learn anything from that. But it's when things go south and how you react to things going south, or how you can turn something around that's in the crapper, right? That's the real test and the real mark. So you have to put yourself in those situations. Don't worry about the goal where you want to be. Just concentrate on the now and honing your craft. And to hone your craft, you got to do it.
Yeah. So, okay.
I love that, by the way.
Yeah. So when he talks about learning what he could do for a living and that he could draw for a living by going to school for it and all those other kind of things, it's inspiring. It's one of those, in fact, it's one of the reasons that we started this podcast, because we always, we always felt like we had some kind of connection to the art community, you and I.
Yes.
And we never really did much with it. And although
life takes a hold of you and puts you in one direction, and we changed our direction to start our site and now our podcast.
Right. And in fact, when I went to the Pixar Artist Masterclass and I had a chance to talk to Matt Lunn and Andrew Gordon, I said, it's crazy. We didn't realize when we started this website and by the way, Matt Lunn is a story artist at Pixar, and Andrew Gordon
is an animator.
And he's done supervising animation, a whole bunch of crazy stuff. But what I didn't realize is, and I told them this, what it was going to do to allow us to connect to other artists, to make us slowly getting back into that realm.
Mm-hmm. It basically unleashed more of our creativity that we had kind of dampened a little bit.
Yeah, well, just kind of set aside because regular life kind of gets in the way. I hadn't drawn in forever, and now I'm having a blast with it.
Drawing machine right now.
Have the drawing tablet and, doing gestures because of Matt Jones and all that kind of stuff. So it's really that statement that he makes in there.
It set home for you.
It hit home. And then, in addition to that, talking about additional filmmakers and making your own films, and, it's funny because as he's saying that, it's almost like the whole story of Brave and how he's telling, you to essentially stay true to who you are.
Mm-hmm. And, exactly.
Yeah.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
It's exactly... Wow. That one got me.
All right. So, Mark Andrews, there he is again.
Yeah,
love him. We can't gush enough.
Yeah. So congratulations again to the entire Brave crew on your Oscar win.
Yeah, they had a pretty cool post-Oscar celebration at Pixar as well that ABC News did a little, kind of post-interview with at Pixar Studios. And it was really neat to see some of the other Pixarians posting on Twitter their comments.
Yeah, as well as some of the neat photos from inside.
Yeah.
Of Mark basically walking through, holding the Oscar up high.
To see him charging through the audience with a bagpiper as they're leading through the atrium of Pixar Studios,
and then,
with
of course,
Catherine Serafian behind him. And
then, of course, everyone getting a chance to have their picture taken with him and the Oscar.
Right, to hold the Oscar as well.
I think that's amazing.
Think about it, your daily job, what you're able to do.
Yeah.
Do any of us get to hold an Oscar?
That whole... team they won the Oscar.
Right.
So
it wasn't just one person, it was everybody.
Right.
So pretty cool.
Congratulations again to all of you.
Yeah. And now shifting from one Oscar winning feature animated feature film to a short film that's going to be coming up that hopefully will be getting nods
this upcoming
year that will be in front of Monsters University is The Blue Umbrella. And that premiered at the Berlin Film Festival on February 12th. And we had mentioned that on our last podcast. And we did hint that we had a reader review that was going to be coming in as well. And that was from Mary Ellen Atkins, who happens to be an animator herself. She does a whole bunch of different things. She was a producer and...
very talented.
As you can tell, extremely talented. We do have links to her Twitter page and Vimeo account that you can check out some of her works. So definitely do that. And again, the full review will be on our site, but we wanted to read just a little bit about her review from her experience at the Berlin Film Festival, watching the movie itself. And then we'll talk a little bit more after that. So what she says is, the Blue Umbrella feels like 3D animation all grown up. There were no large, glossy eyes, just photorealism with a touch of fantasy. The film has a mature aesthetic, more so than the typical big animation studio production, probably because of the influences of its German director, Sascha Unseld. The characters embody anthropomorphism in the best way, with influences from traditional Pixar, like Luxo Jr., but also strong influences from independent animations like Lost Tribes of New York City by Andy and Carolyn London, and maybe Fantasy and Bubble Wrap by Arthur Metcalf. The film begins with one red and one blue umbrella in a sea of black on a crowded, rainy city sidewalk that looks to be New York City. The contrast is undeniable and sets the stage for the sweet love story. Then the blue umbrella blows away from its carrier in a strong gust of wind, while all other objects in the city, like windows, doors, and rain gutters, watch as the umbrella gets swept away in the wind. The filmmaker makes the deliberate decision to never show the person carrying the umbrella, allowing the audience to identify wholly with the umbrella. There are a few shots where you catch a glimpse of the adorable coordinated red and blue wellies, or rubber boots, peeking out from under the umbrella, but you would never quite see who is underneath. The Blue Umbrella is beautiful. It is everything aesthetically and experimentally an audience could wish for in a 3D animated film. I am back on the East Coast now, and appropriately, it is raining today. All I need is my blue umbrella. Okay, so I'm going to let that sink in. And if you think about the final two lines here, because she's an East Coaster herself, I'm back on the East Coast now, and appropriately, it is raining today. All I need is my blue umbrella. I mean, it's awesome. How she wrote this whole review is a story in and of itself.
It very much is.
It starts and ends. It's got a whole structure to it. It's paced so well. We were in love with the review.
Oh, jaws to the floor.
Yeah. So certainly check out Mary Ellen Atkins, her work, as well as the full review on our website. And we'll be having some more surprises regarding the Blue Umbrella upcoming as well for ourselves. Mm-hmm. But now we kind of want to move on a little bit as well to explain this interview a little bit, Julie.
Well, back when the Blue Umbrella premiered in Berlin, there is a journalist who takes his interviewers on a car ride and interviews them on the road. So he took Sascha and producer Mark Greenberg on a little adventure ride. So here's what they had to say.
Yeah, jammed him in the back seat of a Mazda.
Yes, the three of them fit in the back of a Mazda car.
Yeah, so it's pretty neat. So let's hear what they have to say here.
I just saw The Blue Umbrella, a movie you guys did together. You were the producer and you, Sascha, directed it. And it was a wonderful movie. It really was. I really enjoyed it a lot.
Thank you.
It's very, very nice.
The idea was always, and I pitched that to the crew like this, wouldn't it be amazing if, you have the Pixar logo in front of it, but wouldn't it be amazing if the movie starts and everyone thinks it's a normal live-action movie and no one knows it's animation, and then suddenly these characters come to life. And that was always the idea for these characters. They should be magical.
I read that you were more in the kind of financial area of Pixar, and now for the first time you got this producing job.
That's right.
How did that came along, and how was it?
It was incredible. The Blue Umbrella has been amazing, and for Pixar, it's and the Blue Umbrella, it's all been about the story. Mm-hmm. How do you find the right story? How do you support the story? And in order for me to be effective at my day job, my financial job, it's important that I understand how films are made. And this was a front row seat to something pretty spectacular.
So today you showed the Blue Umbrella for the first time to a real audience, which didn't have a clue about the movie. How was that like? Were you like, I mean...
Yeah, I mean... That was fantastic. I mean, the first thing was just that the cinema was huge. It was enormous, and it was filled up to the last place, and it was all kids, which was amazing. Like the energy in the room was just amazing. Yeah. And the moderator in the beginning asked this question: whose first time is it to ever be in the cinema and see a movie? And a lot of the kids were like, yes, this is my first time in my whole life that I see a movie, which was like, wow, that just blew my mind.
So what are your next plans?
Yeah, tons of travel. Like that is the plan right now, to be honest. We're now here in Berlin, which is amazing for me, especially to come back to Germany and show the movie there. Next month we're going to South by Southwest in Austin, which is another amazing festival where there's all the music stuff. And Sarah Jeffrey, the singer, who sings, the vocalist, she's going to be there as well because she's a musician and she's going to perform there as well. So that's going to be an amazing kind of collaboration there. So yeah, most of it is going to be festivals and all these things this year. So I'm kind of super excited about this.
Great. So I wish you guys a very nice trip around the world with your movie.
Thank you very much.
And thank you very much for that wonderful movie.
Yeah, I hope the world will really get to see it on the front of Monsters University in June.
It's
going to be on the front of Monsters University. So it'll be in theaters, thousands of theaters around the world.
Perfect.
And between now and then, we get to do the festival circuit.
It's so exciting.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It starts here a day before it starts in the US.
Really?
Yeah.
June 20th, it starts here because movies here start on Thursdays. In the US, they start on Fridays.
All right.
So you actually will see the movie here and the short film, The Blue Umbrella, one day before the US audience sees it.
Yes! So we all should write our reviews in English.
We're the first one to hype up the US.
Get the clicks.
All right, so we're going to be booking a flight to Germany so that way we can check it out on the 20th of June.
Yes.
Just kidding. But that's pretty cool. I mean, that you learn something all the time. I didn't actually know that the movies come out on Thursdays in Germany.
No, but I like the fact that Sashka was, I mean, you could feel how just moved he was at the audience's reaction. Especially with the kids being like, this is my first movie. And he's like, wow. Their first movie experience is something he directed.
It's his first movie experience, really.
I mean,
he comes from the Pixar technical team.
Yeah.
And it's his first direction as well, so he's got to be very excited about this.
Right. So I was touched for him, hearing that.
Yeah. Yeah, and we did, if you heard a little break in there, it's because we actually edited the interview down a little bit because there's a portion of it where they actually talk to each other in German, and we figured our listeners weren't probably, including ourselves, able to translate quick enough to be able to stay up with it. So we just took that portion of it out. So again, stay tuned to us because we're going to have some more Blue Umbrella news coming up. Pretty exciting.
Yes.
And shifting gears once again, we're going to talk about Monsters University. And
how excited are you about Monsters University?
I know, it gets more ridiculous every week. We talked about it last week, too. But you kind of got more of the school spirit, if you will, by doing your custom Monsters University Letterman sweatshirt. Not a jacket, but a sweatshirt. And we got a ton of hits and reviews and people commenting on our post about it. But give a little bit more about how you created it, just real briefly.
Yeah, real brief. I'm not a jacket girl, so I wear zip-up hoodie sweatshirts. I think I have like 100 of them. So I got a...
That's an exaggeration.
Yeah. I bought a blue one and a white one. I cut them up. I intricately sewed them together and made a patch, sewed it on, and the pictures, the proof.
There you go. Yeah,
the pudding. That was basically
the pictures, the proof, and the pudding. So, yeah, I mean, it really did turn out really neat. And the cool thing is, because it got some great feedback, Julie's going to be making me one as well. I'm going to be getting a Omega Roar Letterman sweatshirt.
Yep.
So I'm pretty excited about that.
Yeah, so we'll post pictures once that's up.
Yeah. So the other thing that happened as well is there is a Monsters University journal that is now available in the Monsters University store. So just go to monstersuniversity.com, click on the MU store tab, and the
hat is back, too.
The hat is also back in stock, and the reason why we really bring up the journal is because they're slowly but surely, we've heard, going to be releasing more and more merchandise that's going to be coming, and it's going to be more apparel. We heard the word homeware. There's going to be a whole bunch more toys, so certainly keep watching monstersuniversity.com for a lot more product that will be coming.
Mm-hmm.
And today, which today is again February 26th, they released a new movie poster. Just like the trailer, they released it on the Facebook Disney UK page. And the new poster shows a ton of new characters from the movie. A lot of them we've already seen in the trailer, but some new ones as well. And it's almost set up like the poster from the very first Cars movie, where they have, Lightning McQueen and all the gang down in the bottom or front of the poster. I mean, it's not the same, but it's along those same lines to get people to be able to visualize it.
Yeah, it was Radiator Springs in the background. Now we have Monsters University in the background, and then all the cast of characters.
Yeah, up front.
Mm-hmm.
So, and of course, we've seen a couple new groups as well. We've seen some of the different girls from the sororities. So we saw what we think are two different groups from Python Nu Kappa and Ada Hiss Hiss. So we think those are some of the new girls that we've seen, because it looks like it's some of the popular girls and maybe some of the more goth girls to go along there. And of course, Art is there as well, the purple fuzzy guy that we love so much. And he's hanging off the side of the banner posts.
And Terry and Terry.
Terry
with a Y.
and I, yeah.
They're, I'm just starting to like them a lot.
Well, the thing that's cool about them is that they're both going for different majors yet attached to the same body. So it's going to be like, how are they going to pull this off?
I like the geeky one, the nerdy one.
Yeah, it's going to be so much fun. I mean, you got the geeky one, and then you've got the one that's going to be a dance major. So it's going to be pretty fun.
Right.
So the other thing that we really wanted to talk about, because we've heard, and originally when we heard the comment and the question that people were saying about, well, there's an inconsistency with Monsters University, because in Monsters Incorporated, Mike says to Sully, "You've been jealous of my looks since the 4th grade." And, we kind of just went past it, but the question has been coming up more and more, and we've been hearing a lot of other people not just asking questions, but speculating on how they might address it. So what we wanted to do is, we had heard from a fellow podcaster, but while listening to theirs, that there is a definitive answer to this. Mm-hmm. So let's first listen to a clip from Monsters Incorporated. This is where Mike says to Sully, "You've been jealous of my good looks since the 4th grade."
I'm telling you, Big Daddy, you're going to be seeing this face on TV a lot more often.
Yeah, like on Monstropolis' Most Wanted.
You've been jealous of my good looks since the 4th grade, pal. Have a good day.
Okay, you've been jealous of my good looks since the 4th grade, pal. So the inconsistency is, everybody's saying they are meeting in college in Monsters University. And let's listen to a clip from the Inside the Magic podcast now, where Ricky Brigante, the host of that show, is at the Toy Fair in New York, and he specifically asks Dan Scanlon, the director of Monsters University, Kori Ray, the producer, as well as John Goodman, the voice of Sully, who is there. And they come up with a definitive answer. So we're excited that we're kind of bringing this to the Pixar crowd, because Inside the Magic is a Disney podcast, and not necessarily those groups of people are crossing over. So let's listen to his Ricky Brigante's initial question, as well as the comments there.
And then, of course, the subject came up about a specific line from the first film, where it was mentioned that Mike and Sully met in 4th grade, apparently contradicting Monsters University. So here's what they had to say about that.
There was a line in there.
It will be deleted from the new... No, we thought a lot about that line, but in the end, we want to tell the right story, the best story, and that is the most important thing. And in order to tell this the right way, we do have to take some creative liberties, but the spirit of it is still the same. They've known each other forever. They've known each other. I think that's just a monster saying. I've known you since the 4th grade. It's like slang.
I've been doing that since I was in the 4th grade.
Yeah.
So there you go. They had to take a little bit of creative liberty there, and it makes total sense.
It does.
I mean, if they have to make the impact of Monsters University, of that story, that they met in college in order to have that character arc and that story, curve happen there. That's what has to happen.
Right.
And, I'm sure that, there's no way they could have anticipated, when they made Monsters Incorporated, that they were going to make a Monsters University one day, and this is what the story was going to be. So there you go. It's just a creative...
From the director's mouth.
From the director's mouth. So we were pretty excited that we had heard that, and I actually heard that last week because I listened to the Inside the Magic podcast every week for Disney news, and he certainly does more than just Disney news, but that's what his main focus over there. So I had heard that, and I kind of just again let it go, but I kept hearing it and coming up, so I'm like, you know what, let's try to spread this out to the Pixar community as well. So thanks to Ricky Brigante again over at Inside the Magic for his clip there. And, final update that we wanted to talk about, there's a couple application updates. There's the game Monsters Incorporated Run, which we have reviewed before, has new levels that have been added to the game. And we're going to be doing an updated review of that game, with a viewing of some of the new levels, which you're running in a Western world this time instead of the jungle or the ice caves or Monstropolis University. Or Monstropolis. Yeah. Just Monstropolis. And then there's also two new characters. You can, I believe it's Kenny and why am I blanking on his George Sanderson? Thank you. Jeez, I was all excited.
One of my favorites.
I was all excited about it too. So now there's two more characters that you can play as well. So in our review that we'll be doing shortly, we'll show you those new characters as well. And then finally, the Walt app, which is the Watched Animation List Tracker, which we reviewed previously, has been updated. It's a tracker where you can check off all of the Pixar and Disney movies that you have seen, just to keep track of them all. And it'll tell you the date it was released and the director and all that fun news. But it has been recently updated to add the blue umbrella. So any of our listeners that have seen it at the Berlin Film Festival, or will be seeing it upcoming at South by Southwest, will be able to check it off and share it on social media saying that you've seen it.
So it's been a big week for Pixar news this past week.
Yeah, between obviously the Oscar win and all of the Blue Umbrella review that we received and were able to pass along, as well as all the Monsters University updates that keep pouring out from Disney marketing.
Yes.
It's going to be a great couple months coming up here.
Yeah,
so
Blue Umbrella and Monsters University. I mean, from here on to June, I think.
It's going to be fantastic.
We're so excited.
Yeah, it's going to be fantastic. Well, signing off for episode 6 of the Pixar Post Podcast, I'm TJ.
And I'm Julie.
And be sure to tune in to us all week at pixarpost.com for your latest Pixar news.